All right, everybody, we are back. It's been a while. I know you guys are wondering where we've been. I got the music in the background, little Tears for Fears, in case those that don't know. And you know what? We are back for a short time. OB may be coming in with us a little later on tonight, and we're going to see how we're going to rock and roll with it, right? We want to talk about a couple of things, and before I come to the screen and everything, we just want to talk about some things and see how everybody feeling tonight. Where's everybody at with it? How you doing? How's your holidays coming along? Have you brought anything? And my music is back, right? Have those ready to go for Thanksgiving? I know I am. I don't really celebrate it, but you know what? Family does. And guess what? I am going to try to enjoy Thanksgiving with the family. So, you know what? For those that are out there, we got one in. We get ready to come to the screen, and it's just me for right now. OB should be coming in a little later on. And those that come in, if you guys want to actually join the panel, I will be trying to drop the link and try to bring guys on, be asking questions. And you know what? We're gonna see if we can make it do what it do. So, hey, just what? Let me try to see if I can come up there and hang out with everybody. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I think it's been a minute since I was able to come up here and hang out. And you know what? I've been missing it. I'm not gonna lie. I've been very busy, and I've been missing everything that's been going on. And it's been a lot in these YouTube streets on how we do things and what's the best way to run a business. All this good stuff has been out there. And hey, you know what? I want to talk about it a little bit. You know, of course, we're gonna have the Cash App running across the screen here in a little bit. We're gonna be doing that. And from there, it's like, hey, let's make it do what it do. You know. So other than that, how's everybody going? I'll be coming to the screen in a little bit. I know what you're saying, man. I want to see Theo. I haven't seen that handsome guy from Connecticut in a while. So you know what? I'll be coming to the screen in a minute. Just trying to take care of some stuff in the background, but I can talk and do other things. We can chew gum and talk at the same time, right? We can chew gum and walk at the same time. So that's what we're doing. And for right now, if you're willing to hang in with me through the verbal carnage before I bring on this handsome face, trying to get a couple things straight on the back end, but I don't want you guys to wait to think we didn't start the show on time. We do try to be punctual, but hey, CP time does work periodically, right? So you know what? That's what we're running on right now. Until we get everything together back here with the technical difficulties that we're having. So that's why you haven't seen this handsome face come back up on the screen just yet. So, but other than that, I just want to say, hey, man, thanks you guys again for coming. It's been a minute, and then it's like, what you guys been up to? Because I know you wonder what I've been up to. Retired owner operator, life out on after the owning the truck, making it do what it do. You know, what more can I say, right? Other than I'm happy till a pig and slop. That's one of the things I wanted to say. I'm happier than a pig and slop. So you know what? We're gonna get it together. We'll have a couple more come in the room before I grace the stage, grace your presence with my mug. I think it's the best mug, but some may differ, right? Just depends on how you look at it. But I think it's the best mug. And for those who are wondering, yes, the gray hair is getting grayer. I'm getting more gray. I'm getting a little too old now. It's to the point where, hey, you know what's really going on here. So you know, but I want to talk to everybody, man, see where everybody's at, you know, how everybody been, you know, really haven't had a chance to really see people in a while. Some of my favorite heads of talking to over the phone. We haven't had a chance to really talk much because, you know, they've been busy. I've been busy. And it's like, hey, man, what all can we do but stay busy, right? As long as we staying busy, that's all that counts. And that's what we're doing. We're staying busy right now, you know. That's what we want to do. And hey, guess what? I am ready for y'all. And oh, thought I was still having some technical difficulties. So I will be up here ready to go, ready to rock and roll. Just got to take care of a couple more things. So I need y'all to be patient with me. And what I can do, I can go to the comments. Triple D, what's up? Yes, veggie chips. T Hill, salute, my brother. Glad to see you in here. We got the older gentleman coming in, Mr. Hill. I call him the philosopher. We got Triple D. He is a Pat Card man, but you know what? I still don't hate him for that. You know what? I still respect him. So you know what? I can't be mad, right? I still gotta respect him, even though he's a Pat Card guy. Not really my cup of tea. But you know what? We'll roll with it either way, right? It doesn't make a difference whether he's Pat Carr. It doesn't matter. We still gonna roll with the young brother and try to make it do what it do at the end of the day. So let's see if we can get it going. I'm still having some technical difficulty in the back, but here's the thing, man. I can talk and chew gum at the same time, and I'm gonna bring this pretty mug up in a minute. One of the things I want to talk about, I've gotten a couple of emails and I've got a couple of phone calls from people, and they've all expressed to me where they're at in 2023, where they want to be in 2024, and everybody is saying the same thing, right? They're all talking the same verbiage, if one may say, right? And I hate to say it that way, that it's verbiage, but it becomes redundant when we repeat the same thing over and over and over and over again without any solutions, right? And the main topic that I've gotten in from some emails, I even shared some with Daryl and asked his opinion, was basically there's a lot of guys drowning in debt. And they're trying to figure out, hey, how do I get out of this debt, right? What do I do? Do I file bankruptcy? Do I file a chapter 7? Do I file 11? Do I do debt consolidations? 2024, everybody I spoke with, they say the same thing. Man, I want to get from under this debt, right? And it becomes as simple as, do you pay one credit card off as a time? Is it time to maybe return stuff back that you see right now that's bogging you down? Because we all think about debt, and when debt comes hitting, that is the first thing we want to know is, man, is it going to affect my credit? And I say this all the time. You didn't get into this debt overnight. You're not going to get out of it overnight, right? So that's what we want to talk about tonight, man. And those that are watching, those that are comment, if you got anything you want to say for as an opinion, I don't have a problem if someone wants to come up and talk about it. We'll bring them up. I mean, I don't have a problem with it, because this is not about what I know or me chastising. This is me talking about where I'm seeing people that I know, close friends, and some aren't friends, some I don't know. They follow the show, so we go back and forth through Facebook. But for the most part, I'm hearing and I'm seeing the same thing. Those are saying, hey, I am in a ball of debt. And we're seeing now within the economy that more and more Americans are in debt, right? More and more Americans have an average car note of $650. That's not insurance included, right? And some guys' car notes are over $1,000. So when we looking at these numbers, you say, okay, well, how can we afford this when everything is going up, right? Everything is going up, your interest rate's going up. So that means your debt is going up. And people are trying to figure out going in 2024, how do I get away from this debt, right? You have owner operators or small carriers and 1 to 3 truck operations who are saying, hey, listen, you know what? Right now, I have too much on the plate. You've seen the picture of my plate, and they have too much on the plate. And how can they get themselves to a situation where now there's more edible food on the plate, not debt, but edible food? And they're asking, hey, man, is it the best idea to walk away from everything? Is it a good idea to try to keep some things? Is it a good idea to maybe park my truck and just go company? Right now, with the numbers where there are, and we all understand everybody's situation is different, what you need to live off on, right? So these are some of the things that people are asking me um, over and over. What's the best decision? Now, personally, I can't make a decision for you because I'm not in that situation, but I can truly understand. I've been and bottled with debt before, so I understand that. I've had the high interest credit cards. I had the mortgage that was too much at that time, and when the money went low during the 2008 recession, I had to make a decision. What do I keep? Well, I know I need a car to go back and forth to work. That's no doubt about it. I didn't need the credit cards that I had. I didn't need the other card that I had, and I didn't need the house. So I made a personal decision to say, you know what? I've got to pretty much walk away from everything. Now, at that time, it would have been smarter to do a bankruptcy. There's no doubt about it. It would have been smarter. It probably would have been smarter to do a debt consolidation. And being younger, you think but the older you get, you realize what you have to do. But that's what I did. I literally just walked away from 75% of my debt ratio. And it took years to build everything back up. I was happy I did it. No love loss, right? And these are the questions that I'm getting asked all the time. What should I do? How do I need to do this? And I don't have, well, this is what I went along the way. And but at the end of the day, we all have to basically understand that, hey, we all have to be accountable for our own situations. We all have to make what's in our best interest. And there's never a good interest of having a lot of debt when you're in a market where the market is shrinking financially, your money is shrinking. That's the way it works, unfortunately. And I know people say, well, we in trucking, it's this broker's fault. It's the president's fault. It's my local senator's fault. Well, here's the thing: they don't run your business. You run your business. Nobody runs your business but you, right? So when we come to grips with reality, that it's not only the broker's fault. It's not so much only the carrier that you're leased to. And if you are the carrier, it's not the shipper's fault. At some point, we have to understand where are we at with our debt, right? And when we start really thinking, and as some people say, hustling, getting it out the mud, then we understand that we made these decisions to put ourselves in this debt to where we're at. And I say this all the time. You did not get in this situation overnight. You will not come out of this situation overnight. It's just not going to happen. You think you can walk away from everything and now life is beautiful. Yeah, it is, until you got to finance something. Right. So now you're right back to square one. So it becomes, what are we going to do in 2024? What expenses can we literally pull out, cut back, and say, what, I don't need this expense in 2024? Or do we say, hey, listen, I can literally, in the next 3 months, I can pay one credit card off and no longer use it again. I can eliminate that $125 payment that you've been paying, right? And some may say, well, $125 ain't nothing. $125 is a lot of money at this day and time. I know for me, 125 is a lot of money, right? And just want to say, Calvin Lee, appreciate your brother coming in. I'll be getting to the screen in a minute, man. I'm having technical difficulties in the back. Just bear with me, brother. Mr. Anthony Johnson, appreciate you coming. And just for you two guys coming in, we're talking about debt, right? Where we're at with debt and how the economy is so infumed with debt, and a lot of owner operators, small fleet carriers, lease drivers, even company drivers have reached out to me and just said, hey, man, I'm catching hell over here. And, and all I can say is, hey, I'm catching hell with you. Let's be honest. That's about the best I can tell you. But I said, hey, you know what? I'll talk about it. I'm not going to call any names. And they said, one guy said, I don't care. You tell them. I said, nah, it's not how I operate. I don't put names out there. But I think it's a good subject because I think we're all dealing with this whole thing that we call debt, right? And how we deal with this debt is how we're going to move forward. Um, if I could say it that way, we all want to move forward in every way, shape, and form, but we cannot move forward when we are financially trapped in a lot of debt. And that's what makes things horrible for everybody. What's going on, Rob? Appreciate you coming in, my brother. So getting back to it again, what are we doing, or what are we willing to do to alleviate some of this debt that we all have, right? We understand that some guys in the industry bought overpriced trucks, right? So they're dealing with that debt right now. We get it. I'm not knocking you for it, but we also know that the average American is dealing with debt also. That's not a small carrier. That's not an owner operator. That's not a W-2 employee. They're dealing with that. We understand that the credit card debt ratio has skyrocketed in this country. And like I said in the beginning, we have a lot of cars that are constantly being repossessed. It's amazing. This thing reminds me of 2007, 2008, with all the cars and everything getting repossessed, and people are getting into the point where they're just walking away from everything. And sometimes that is good, but a lot of times that is bad to just walk away from everything, because at the end of the day, guess what? You're gonna have to pay for it. And walking away from everything means you're ruining your credit. You spent all this time building it, and now you have to ruin it. And I get it, been there, done that. So if that's a decision you have to make, Theo's not telling you to do that. Hell no, I'm not. But I am saying you are responsible for your own decision. So you just got to figure out. And sometimes when I'm looking at what's going on with the debt, and here's the thing, this debt is not just for the average everyday Joe that's working, right? It's more than that. We're seeing a lot of these companies that are in financial debt right now. There's a reason why some of these brokers are closing up, because the bank is not extending their loans. They're not allowing them to borrow as much money because they're seeing what's going on in the industry. And the banks understand that a lot of carriers are in debt. They understand that a lot of the brokers are in debt. So they're not going to keep extending their loan, right? We've had so many drivers who's talked about how their fuel card has been cut down for a certain percentage, right? And it could be based on that, it could be based on the market. But let's be honest with each other here. I mean, I truly want to be honest. The facts are the facts, and the numbers don't lie. When people aren't spending money into an economy, somebody's got to pay that, right? Meaning, i.e., the low rates are lower. So that driver now is has a debt ratio of, let's say, $13,000 a month. With house, home, car, truck, everything. He's got $13,000 a month. But now people aren't spending because they're in so much debt. They're cutting back. So guess what? If I cut back my spending, it's going to affect you. So now you're now at $10,000 a month coming into the house, but you need 13. It's these kind of numbers where we go from the old system of being taught in elementary school, right? If those who can remember this, the old greater than, less than sign. That's where we're at with this thing, right? So it's like, okay, how do we balance this? How do we come out of this? Because it's gonna come to the point where someone has to really say, you know what, I've got to take the wheel. We hear the analogy, Jesus, take the wheel, Lord. Jesus, take the wheel. Well, you need more than Jesus right now. I needed more than Jesus at one point to take the wheel, but I had to be physically responsible myself and understand what I did to get myself in that situation. So that's what I really like to talk about, man. I want to focus on that to the end of the year, because I think in 2024, we all have to really say, you know what, I've got to be able to look at certain things, and how I'm going to work things out at the end of the day, because it's getting harder and harder and harder for the average American that's involved in debt. And we're hearing it, we're seeing it. Like I said, with the cars being repossessed, some people are saying, well, home prices are through the roof. They are through the roof, but there are a lot of people living paycheck to paycheck, right? And if I'm living paycheck to paycheck, guess what? I'm not spending any money in the economy. I'm holding every dollar. And if I'm holding every dollar, guess what happens? I'm not putting it in the economy. So therefore, it goes back to now the drivers take the hit. Whether you're a company driver, you're leased on, you're independent, you are one or two, three truck carrier, you take the hit when I don't go shopping at the end of the day. So when I say I, meaning people who are thinking like me, I have to cut back, right? I can't cut back solely on my car note. That's etched in stone. I can't cut back on my rent or mortgage. That's etched in stone. I can only cut back on the credit card by paying the minimum balance because I want to keep it going. So that means what I normally buy, I'm not buying if I don't need it, because I got to come out of debt, right? So now we got to understand this. And Top Rope, I like that comment that we gotta balance the book somehow. You're right, you're right. But you know what? That's a double-edged sword when our books and the numbers in our books are so huge, but the numbers that's coming in to pay the numbers in the books are so small. I put it like this: it's hard to divide to you cannot divide 10 into four, but you can divide four into 10, if we can use the old math analogy, right? So you got to ask yourself that, how does 10 go into four? It don't. It don't. But 4 goes into 10. So what we've seen is a reverse. The, the guy that was getting 10 to the house for the month is now getting 4. He needed that 10, at least 85% of it. So he's still running at a net log of net, running at a net, trying to get my system right here, from right there. So that's where we at, right? So it's like, how do we get out of this, man? It's like we're the hamster on the wheel. They got us with the cheap credit, in the last 16 months where everybody was able to buy anything that they wanted, right? Credit cards were giving out credit, like I wouldn't say like they're giving out crack. I wouldn't say that, but it was like giving out free water in a hot summer day. Everybody wanted it and everybody got it, right? Loans, it was giving out loans on a regular basis, especially when it came into the trucking industry and small businesses. They got loan after loan after loan after loan. We understand that. But now, guess what? The chickens are coming home to roost, and the chickens want to eat, meaning your creditors, your debtors want their money. That's just it. They want their money. And how are we going to give them that money? I mean, hey, I don't know. I'm fighting my creditors just like the next man, right? I'm above nobody, but I understand I have to make an intelligent decision by the end of the year. So 2024, I'm coming in with a game plan, and the game plan is to eliminate as much debt as possible, because right now we're seeing what's going on with those that have the debt, and how it's working out. And I know a lot of y'all, hey man, you don't want to be indebted, right? Because we've seen the market has changed. The market has flipped upside down. So for those who may not want to admit it, they're still doing good. But let's be honest. If you ran into a market and you ran $5 a mile for the last 8 months, and now you're looking at $1.98, 240 average. And we know guys are still winning. I'm not talking about anybody, but we know that we are not we as in me, but we understand that a lot of people are running at a lesser amount. And with inflation and credit and debt, that lesser amount gets smaller and smaller because everything is costing more. So that's another thing that's got a lot of people in this big debt to debt ratio. I want to say to use the proper credit term for that. But at the end of the day, we just got to ask ourselves, man, what are we going to do to try to get ourselves out of this debt? And we've got options, but the options, are they what we really want? Do we really want to go file bankruptcy? Let's say that's option number one. Do we want to do bankruptcy? Let's say option number two. Do we want to do debt consolidation? Option three. Do we say, you know what, this car is going back to the dealership? I got a car that's paid off. I'll use that. It is what it is. You know, Either way, and they're right. Mr. Xavier, right. It was income to debt ratio. I couldn't quite remember. I'm sorry about that. Theo is getting older, y'all, and my memory and hearing is starting to go more and more. When me and OB talk, I'm actually yelling in the phone because I'm thinking there's something wrong on his end, but I realized it was my end and I was having the bad hearing part. So that's where we at. And like I said, I'm still trying to get my technical difficulties right to get myself on the screen. I don't know what I'm doing back here. I'm not sure what's going on. Um, Maybe my internet, because I didn't pay the bill yet. They about to cut me off because I ain't paid my debt. So right now I'm still trying to figure it out. God's willing, I will be on the screen so you guys can see this mug, right? So getting back to what I was saying there, we have to come back to and face the reality, right? So we've got several choices. We could be filing bankruptcy. We could do a debt consolidation. Whether we want to return stuff that we want, but we don't need. Right, we have to really look at this thing, even for a owner operator who's thinking maybe, you know what, right now is not the time for me to be owning a truck. Not because he can't make it off of that. It's because he says, listen, if I'm gonna be out here, I want to be paid a certain amount, and the numbers aren't there consistently. There we go. Now I'm back up top. OB came in and got me on top. I appreciate that, brother. So that's where we're looking at, right? And of course, I said the thing with the credit cards, right? See which one you can try to pay off first, if you can, right? And once you pay it off, cut it up. You don't need it because that's what got you in trouble, right? And here's the thing: I will hear somebody, and I'm sure sooner or later somebody's gonna put in the comment, "You can live off your debt." You can, but you don't have that kind of debt to live off of. You're not Donald Trump. You're not Warren Buffett. So you're not living. Your debt doesn't work in your favor. So for the ones who want to say that, let's be honest. Your debt doesn't work in your favor. If it does, please, I will give money to your Cash App so that I will be able to get a better understanding because I've got plenty of debt. It's just not working for me. But if you know the way to do it, hey, call me. Trust me. I'll drop my number on there. I'll send money to your Cash App to get you what you need to give us that information because they say, information is knowledge and knowledge is power. So I really want to know what the difference is. So that's where we're looking at right now, man. Is trying to figure everything out, right? How are we going to do it? What's the best way to do it? And I think sooner or later we're going to get there, but it's going to take a minute for us to even try to get there because people have to be, how do I want to say this? People have to be honest with themselves about their debt and their responsibilities, and I always say there's needs, wants, and there's necessities, right? And I was always taught that in elementary school. Unfortunately, a lot of the stuff you're taught in elementary school, you don't start remembering until you get older. Because when you're in your younger years, your youth, your best time, you're going against the grain all the way when it comes to debt. Right, you just go against everything. You never say, you put your wants above your needs. Right, your wants go above your necessities. So now we're older, we're actually seeing the true transpondent of not doing what you was taught when you were in school. So now we have to say, you know what, we got to start doing it, right? So this is where we at. Once again, we got to figure it out because everybody is kind of dealing with it, man. Nobody is immune from this debt that we're dealing with right now in the economy, and it's really starting to slow the economy, right? So those guys who are out here doing it every day, uh, to my fleet owners, to my one truck owner operators, to my guys who are leased on, to my W-2 drivers, understand if debt is not gotten under control, you're not going to see these rates come back. You're not going to see, as a company driver, more hours being given to the end of the day. You're not going to see more miles being extended to your week because simple fact is people don't have the money to spend. So that's just the way it is, man. I mean, I don't know any better way to say it than that's just the way it is. It reminds me of the old 80s song. It's like that, and that's just the way it is. Run DMC. So we got to go back to the basics, and OB always says that, hey, man, let's go back to the basics. Let's see what we can do, get back to the basics. And the basics is, hey, we got to get physical responsible again at the end of the day. The same way you did that, got yourself good enough to get the credit, purchase what you want, that got you in debt. We got to do the same thing, but we got to do it in reverse, right? Once we learn to do it in reverse, then, hey, it's on and popping at that junction, right? So that's really what we got to do, man. Is try to pull back a little, figure out there's our needs, our wants. What do we really need? What do we really want? And I'm like all of y'all, man. I want the world. When I go in the store, I want to buy what I want. If I see that new car on the car lot, I want to be able to buy it, but that don't mean I need it. That's what we got to ask ourselves. That don't mean I need that car because I want the car. It just doesn't work that way. So we got to figure this whole thing out, man. And like I said, it's an individual thing. Don't get it twisted. But we're seeing companies and companies who are looking at their spreadsheets, especially now it's the end of the year. And we all know in the next 30 days, nobody's going to be shipping a lot of product out because they don't want to have a lot of product in the inventory because they have to pay for that one way or another. So we're going to see another slowdown. where they're looking at their inventory, and that's going to affect you and I and everybody else. Because guess what? I don't know about anybody else, but I'm not really wanting to have my money cut any more than it's been cut due to a slowdown. And I still got my debt that I got to pay for, right? So I don't want to be in a position where I have to file bankruptcy, or I have to do a debt consolidation, or I have to take something back, right? I don't want to be there. So I'm praying and hoping that this thing's going to spin around. But the reality that we're living in, this country and everybody in it, a large portion, is really toting a lot of debt at the end of the day, a lot of debt. And it's like I said, it's not just the single individual American, it's large families, small families, it's corporations where their debt is just getting out of control. And you, if you guys think you guys have it bad, that are the carriers and the owner operator, lease operator, W-2, you're seeing your money getting cut, right? There are a lot of businesses who are going through the same thing. The only difference is they have more ways of circumventing their debt and using their debt for them, right? There are more loans to get them out. They're able to push certain debts back uh, a short, longer time before they have to pay it. Whereas me and you and the other guys, hey, we don't have that option, right? So we have to really be proactive. You know, I always say sometimes we wait too late and then we want to get reactive, right? So let's get proactive. Let's not wait till we get to the point where we have to give everything up, but we really got to be honest with ourselves and let ourselves know that, hey, there are just certain things, man, that we may or may not leave. You know what I mean? Ghost Town Bully, what's up, my brother? Nah, brother, I hadn't retired. I've been busy, man. Everybody's been saying that. I've been like a beaver trying to build a dam with no teeth. Very, very busy, my brother. But I wanted to come on. I was gonna come on last Saturday, Ghost Town, but things got changed and I wasn't able to do it. So I had a little time tonight, and I said, you know what, I want to come on and just talk about what I see that's going on in the economy, on the news, and convey it all together with trucking and those that aren't in trucking, right? Well, because I don't want to sit up here and beat a dead horse on rates all night long. We're not doing that, right? We know what the rates are. It's no need to complain. We already know what the rates are, right? So the question is, how do you work with the rates and get yourself out of debt? That's what I'm more concerned about now going in 2024 for Ghost Town Bully that just came in. And just to let you know, Ghost Town, I do have the Panda Bear hat, and I have another one that I just purchased, and I will be more than happy to give that to one of your little ones in Hartford if they do want a panda hat. I do have another one. So just let me know and we can work something out, and I would drop it off straight to them. So, but getting back to what we was talking earlier, which like I said is debt, right? You see the picture, there's a plate there, and it's debt on your menu. You know what I mean? How are you going to work around and circumvent around this debt that's on the menu? Because whether we want to admit it or not, the debt is there, right? And I go back to what I said in the beginning. We can't sit there and blame the president. We can't blame our local politician, right? We can't even blame the pastor, and he could get a whole lot of blame, in my opinion. But we can't even blame the pastor for this whole situation, because this is personal responsibility. I think some of us got to ask ourselves: are we spending more than we need to spend? Are we really bringing in the amount of money to cover the amount of debt we have, right? And if not, now what do we do? It just, and it's a hard decision. There are families who now are living off of credit cards, right? They're paying the minimum, but their balance isn't going down because you got it at 22% interest rate. That's a hellified of debt that is hard to get away from, right? You need to pay bills, you got to buy stuff, you don't have enough money coming in with the job, the company's laying back, they're cutting back, or they're laying off. So you're relying on that credit card. You're running that debt all the way up to the point where now making the minimum means nothing at this point, right? And before you realize it, the credit card is maxed out. You have no way to get it down to even feasibly using it. So what do? You just say screw it, right? You're 2, 3 months behind. Just say don't worry about it. Now your credit is wrong. Well, we don't want that to happen, right? So get back to what I stated, man, midway through. We're going to have to relook at everything, right? We got to look at our monthly expenses and realize what's more important to us, right? And I know a lot of guys that are listening, there are owners out here, and they will tell you though they'll do whatever they got to do to keep what they got to keep to take care of their family, and I'm not mad at that, right? What's going on? I feel good, great truck drivers feel great. I like that name, James Williams Trucking. How are you, brother? Uh, we just got to figure something out, right? And like I said, I don't have time to get into the blaming game of maybe the rates are too low. The rates are what they are. We got to work with the rates until the rates come back. But at the end of the day, we still got to kill some of this debt that we got, because the debt is hurting you more than the rates are. you know I think that's something that we've got to look at from that analogy. If we really start looking at what's going on in our private life, what's going on at home, financially. I don't want to get into you guys bedroom, don't get it twisted, but financially we got to look at what's going on, right? And here's the thing, I can speak on it because I've been there before. I'm not above a bad credit score. Nah, I've had a good credit score, ruined it, literally ruined it. And we're not talking 750. I was in the 800s when I ruined my credit score because I took on so much debt. And guess what? The economy flipped upside down. And now I'm trying to figure out how to pay all this debt. I didn't get into it overnight. I wasn't going to solve the problem overnight. My decision of what I did do, it was an overnight decision. But guess what? I had to pay the price for that. So I really didn't solve it. I may have gotten rid of a lot of debt, but I had to go years and years till I got my credit back up where the credit was acceptable. You see, so I'm one of those people who can really say, when I say we have to deal with this debt, I've been through it. I don't say it as to try to belittle anybody, right? I've been there. It's not fun. It's definitely not fun. Nobody wants it. But the reality is this: there are a lot of people dealing with it right now, off and on YouTube, off and on TikTok, off and on Facebook. There are a lot of people dealing with it. So the reality is the reality. Let's try to get to what we need to do to get ourselves out of debt, right? What's the key? Financial freedom is what they say, right? We all say we should all be taught financial literacy, and I think it should be in high schools. Before you graduate, you should have a financial literacy course. But we all want financial freedom. You cannot, nor you will not, put it that way. You cannot and you will not have financial freedom whenever you are embottled in a lot of debt. It won't work. I don't care. It seems like it works when you are Jay-Z and Jermaine Dupri. You're yelling out the right side of that Peterbilt. You're pulling the horn, saying money ain't a thing. You're right. It ain't when everything is going good, till everything starts going bad, and then money becomes a different thing. And that's really what we've got to start looking at, right? And I agree with you, Triple D, on that comment. Some people lifestyles are based around COVID rates. Now got to figure out how can they cut back. That's true. That is true. And the question is, how do you cut back? you know um, I don't think it's hard to cut back. I think it's more so, what are you willing to sacrifice, right? Because if you're used to 20 grand a month coming in, and now you're doing 12, and now you say I need the 20 grand a month. Well, there's $8,000 that you got to cut out. Actually, you should be cutting out 10,000. Give yourself a little leeway, right? And this is where we at. So it becomes, what are you willing to sacrifice? It wasn't hard for me to make the decision when I went through it, when I emboldened myself with a bunch of debt, right? It was not hard for me to take two cars to the dealership and say, you know what? I can't afford this no more, man. I'm losing my hair. All kinds of stuff was going on. Mentally, I was stressed out. I didn't need two car notes. I just did it because I could. Didn't need it. You know, uh, I took both of them back. Thank God I always had At that time, my green expedition that was paid off. It was the first car I brought brand new. I think I brought that car 6 months before my daughter was born. Saved up a lot of money because I seen Shaquille O'Neal had one. I said, man, I want that. Make just being stupid, just dumb decisions, right? And but I always kept that truck, and it was paid off. So, but I was able to at that point in time buy the house, uh, buy a car. Then I go back and I buy another car, and I was surprised I was able to get the second car loan. I was like, damn, So I got that car. But then when the economy starts to slow down and my numbers were getting smaller and smaller, and I mean hellaciously smaller, right? I had to make a decision, you know, to the point where I'm getting stressed out. I had to think about my debt ratio. Man, what am I doing here? This is crazy. So guess what? I ended up basically giving everything back, the cards back. I think I kept two credit cards. The other credit cards didn't pay them, was what it was, right? End up walking away from the house. Like, hey man, I can't take this, too much debt. I can't do it, man. This is killing me, right? And then that put me in a whole nother situation because now I'm running not paying the IRS, the taxes. So we everything that I did that I thought was the right thing back then kind of was, but I'm still paying for it now. Credit is fine. My credit's good. I ain't got no problem with that. I can go buy anything. I can go to the dealership right now and run my credit and buy a brand new truck with no problem. Now, I don't need a brand new Ford F-150. I need a brand new Volvo 860. I have the credit to do it, but I cut out a lot of debt to do it, and I will not ever occur that much debt again. That is something I won't do. So that's how we're looking at it, man. That's where we're at with this thing, and we go back again. We're saying, what can we do to solve this problem in 2024? What can we do to make better financial decisions? Because I don't want us to be in a situation where the rates jump back up all of a sudden and guys are right back at it again, hanging out the window. Money ain't a thing, right? We don't want that. I'm moving away from the mic so you can get to understanding they hanging out the window. So we really don't want that to happen again, right? So I think in 2024, we want to go into being more financially literate, understanding our debt ratio and what's going on, and putting ourselves in a position where we won't be in this spot no more, right? It took me a while to really figure this thing out, man. I didn't figure this out overnight. I didn't, but it took a while. Now I'm at a better place mentally. So that's where I want everybody to be, because we got to start with the mental process. And Leak said, Leak said, "Oh my goodness," Leak said they'll do it again. Oh man, I wouldn't want them to do it again, Leak. I really wouldn't. But if they did, oh well, you have to say, how do they say, you live and you learn. And if they're not going to learn, then I don't know what to say, right? That's just one of those things, man, where what can you do, right? It's just one of those, and that's how it's going to be, man, at the end of the day. So but other than that, them doing it again, they do it again, that they deserve what they got, right? At the end of the day, they deserve what they got. And it's like, what can you do at this point for everything? So it's like, okay, what do? We see there's going to be a repeat of a message of them doing it over and over. And you have to say, if they're going to do it all over again, you know what? Then I believe in, hey, screw it. You know what? Let them do it. At this point, that's their decision. That's what they're gonna do. You just let them do it and say, you know what, you want to hang yourself, go hang yourself. I'm a firm believer in letting people express their opinions as much as possible. And financially, if that's what they want to do, then oh well, do it, right? I just can't see going back and forth over and over again with people about stuff like this, because it gets kind of redundant if you see someone who's not willing to change. So me tonight is speaking to those who are thinking about change, um, how they want to change, what's the best way to change, and once we get there, man, hey, I'll tell anybody, I'm rolling with you. I'm willing to sit down, talk if they need me to talk. I don't think they do, but some do, because I the emails and phone calls I've been getting. And But just understand you're not the only one that's dealing with this, right? You're just not. People think that they're the only ones that are dealing with these things sometimes, and they don't realize they're not. They're not the only ones that dealing with it. And when we get to that point of understanding that, it will be a better place for everybody because, like I said, hey man, this is mental what we're all dealing with. And once we get there, hey, let's get there together. Let's get there together where we can all be there making the money, sipping on some margaritos. I'm a vodka guy myself and Hennessy, but let's make it do what it do, right? That this is what we want to do. So let's try to do it. That's about the best way I can look at it, man, because right now, everybody's feeling the pinch, right? Nobody is above of what we're dealing with. You guys think that I know a lot of you guys are owner operators and small fleet owners, you guys are catching it with the rates and everything, and that's causing your debt to go up more and more, right? But just remember, the person that's buying the product you're hauling, their debt is going up also. So you're not by yourself. As Americans, there's a percentage of us who are all dealing with the same thing. Guys are not going to admit it. uh I don't know why, because shit, we all go through stuff, right? Excuse my language. So at that point, it just becomes awakening call, right? What are we going to do? And you can't just sit here and say you're going to do the same thing you did yesterday, because what you did yesterday got you in the situation you are today. So we have to come up with a new approach, and I get it. It's not easy, when you start thinking about what you got to do, and, you might have to let some stuff go, man. It gets rough. It's tough, man. It's really tough. It's like going to get some Wendy's French fries only. Not the best thing in the world. And that's the decisions that you kind of got to make. You got to make these decisions that aren't the best things, man. And it's hard. I get it, but I would tell you, as a grown man, as a man of color, I've been there. I know, and I'm telling you, you're better to relinquish things than to deal with the stress of trying to keep them. I want to say that one more time. You're better to relinquish things than deal with the stress of trying to keep these things, because these things are materialistic. And guess what? You can get it all over again. You get it all over. One thing I've learned about when we start taking on a lot of debt, right? And it feels good and it sounds good, and we start taking on all this debt and everything. Well, what else you take on with debt? You take on stress. And stress is going to make you do a lot of stupid stuff. You be so stressed out that you get another credit card, right? If you notice, this is how you know how bad things are right now. Every YouTube short commercial is talking about HELOC loans, trying to get everybody to pour anything out of their house, right? With the HELOC loan. That's what they're trying to do. Any equity that you're out, you got, it's a commercial for it everywhere, right? There's commercials now, more and more and more debt consolidations, right? And at the same time, you have all these banks offering all kinds of credit cards, you know. So you can see the writing on the wall, what's going on. You didn't see nothing about debt consolidation. Um, Banks wasn't as easy to give credit when the numbers were so high in the freight industry. We didn't see that, but now all you're seeing, debt consolidation. I can watch a TV and within 4 hours, between 4 hours and a commercial coming on, I'm going to see something about a bankruptcy. Like I said, the HELOCs. Everybody's talking about HELOC, right? Because they understand people are in so much debt right now. And we all know how the power of influence is. If we see something enough, eventually we're going to go and do it, right? It's like the Burger King Whopper, the Impossible Whopper. You've seen that thing so many times. You said, man, I've got to try this Impossible Whopper. Man, I heard this thing is so good. And you can lie all you want. Your ass went and brought that damn Impossible Whopper. And it wasn't that good. It really wasn't that good. You see, they don't really sell them that much. So this is what they're doing to us now, right? So they're telling us that the majority of Americans are struggling with debt. And if they wasn't, you wouldn't see every other commercial or every other short on YouTube when you're waiting to play a video. At least I know when I'm on YouTube and I'm getting ready to watch a live with Kevin League or Kevin Cooley, and shout out to them brothers. Even a live with DB, even Truck Unity. If I'm about to watch a live, here I got to sit there and go through a 5-second commercial, right? And a lot of time it's dealing with debt consolidation. Chapter 7, chapter 11. It's dealing with debt, refi. I don't know how many phone calls I get. Hey, do you want to refi? Hey, I ain't refining nothing. I can barely pay what I got now. We're not refining and dragging my payments out. Now, that's me. I wouldn't tell somebody else not to do that. If refi is going to bring that debt down by $200-$300, go ahead and refi. I'll be first to say, yeah, do it. But we got to look at the big picture and ask ourselves, is that's really going to get us out of the debt that we're trying to get out of, right? And more than likely, it's not going to get us out of the debt. Yeah, there you go. He said them lump sum equity loans. He's right. The lump sum equity loan. That's what you're gonna get. You're gonna get a lot of that. But hey, man, it's like what do we do, right? We have to do something. We got to come out of this debt sooner or later, right? And it becomes, man, what am I gonna be able to do this? And you only have so many options that's at your disposal for that particular time, right? So it becomes, all right, now what's next? I got to do something. And I don't know what to do, but I got to do something. And these commercials, man, they draw you in, right? So you figure it as like, you put it to this perspective. You would have a pastor selling water, healing water, and at the point where when people are at their lowest, they're sending them $5 for a bottle of water, you know, healing water, because they're convinced they need the healing water, right? So that's the same thing with what these companies are doing with trying to convince you to refi. Um, you know, all these tricks they got out there, right? Like I said, some of them, they're not bad, but you just got to ask yourself. The reality is the reality, right? Um, do you need this kind of debt? How long do you need to hold on to the debt? And if you're going to hold on to the debt, is it worth it? There's what they call good debt. There's what they call bad debt. Now, here's the thing. I'm not a millionaire. I don't know what good debt is. I truly don't know what good debt is. If I did, I would tell you, and I'm like, yo, man, you got to get on this good debt. This the real deal. I don't care what nobody say, right? I don't know what good debt is. I know what bad debt is. I got plenty of that. I got that to go around. So anybody wants some bad debt, call Theo. He'll give you some bad debt. That's just the way I see it. But at the end of the day, we want to eliminate as much debt as possible, right? And I think that's what we're trying to do at this junction, is to say, you know what? Let's try to eliminate as much debt, but understand at the end of the day, people got to understand that they're not alone in this thing. We got to realize that there are a lot of Americans who are dealing with the same problems that you are when it comes to this debt. And so let's not fool ourselves, right? Don't try to deny and fool yourself that it's only you, because it's not. It's a lot of people going through this. But at the end of the day, we have to recognize what we're dealing with and what's going on, and be honest with ourselves. Like I said, man, I burned this up over roughly 42 minutes ago, give or take 40 minutes. And I just said, hey, man, you got to ask yourself, what are you willing to sacrifice? What do you want to liquidate, right? When mega carriers and companies, would you say companies in general, when they file bankruptcy and they go into litigation, right? And now they have to figure out, okay, what are we going to get rid of? Right. And those several different bankruptcies, 7 to 11. I'm not getting into the specifics of which bankruptcy. We're not doing that. But just for the most part, we see major trucking companies, they say we're doing a litigation sale, right? Litigation sale. And they are trying to sell things for a certain price, right? So they're getting rid of their debt that's basically a lot of is pretty much paid off, but there is a lot that's old and they can get the money back to the bank. So now you got to ask yourself, you don't want to give a paid off car back because you can't, it's paid off, right? But if the car is not paid off, is it worth returning it? Because there are a lot of people who are returning cars right now. That's nothing new under the sun with people turning cars in. Nothing at all that's new. So that's something we may want to ask ourselves, are we willing to do it? Now, if you have a wife and kids, I would say do whatever you got to do to keep the house there. If that means, i.e., if you are a truck owner and if you have to sell that truck and go work for a company to support your wife and kids, I say do it. I would definitely do that because the kids and wife comes first. If it's just you, then I would say, hey man, think about a different approach. But there are times we have to be honest with ourselves. Sometimes it may be best to, i- if not go into maybe a W-2 position, maybe find something out of trucking that can give you just about the same amount of money as trucking. And those jobs are out there. When we're talking W-2, we're not talking owner operator. There's not jobs you're going to walk into. You can gross $350,000 a year with no headache. That's just not going to happen. So we're not even going to sit, especially with no degree. So we're not even going to play that game, right? But we're talking from that perspective, just W-2. Yeah, there are some that you can go and make the same as you make as a W-2 employee. But even a W-2 guy has debt. You know, we can't just pretend that this is not that they are exempt. Let me say it that way, that we can't pretend that they're an exempt from debt, right? In other words, and I'm saying exempt, my freaking head is hurting you. I apologize for that. The word is exempt, but I'm saying exempt because I'm looking at something at the same time that made me say the word exempt. Um, we can't pretend like, we're as a W-2 guy, I'm in the clear. I'm not gonna have these kind of issues. I will have these issues if I allow it. Unfortunately, here's the good thing. I'm just not gonna allow it to happen. I would say that I'm just not going to allow it to happen. But for those who are dealing with it, like I said, man, we've got to come up with some kind of solution that we can get that debt down, get ourselves in a better financial position. And let's be honest, when your money is good, you feel good. You actually think you look better than you look because money do make you look good, especially you got some good money, you look like new money, right? Well, now we see the money is decreasing, but the debt's still coming. So we gotta balance that out. We got to hit it full stream because if the money keeps decreasing, the debt's gonna get bigger and bigger because you got less money. So we got to figure out how we're gonna fight this debt. So if we got to take this debt out of here, we got to take the debt out at the end of the day, right? That's all we can do as human beings and try to protect our family. But I always say financial freedom is the best way to protect your family, right? I don't care how many guns you got, and I love guns like the next guy, but it doesn't matter if you don't have financial freedom. When you have financial freedom, guess what? You're in a better position mentally, and you can put your family in a better place so that you don't have to worry about Joe Blow or Tyrone and every other person come trying to rob you. It all goes hand in hand, whether we want to believe it or not. So I think that's something that people are gonna need to look at, man. Like I said, 2023 is damn near over. There are changes we can make in 2023, but they're gonna have to be very quick and dramatic. So I think it's best to say, you know what, why don't we look at what we can trim and go into 2024 and figure out how can we get ourselves out of this debt, right? Because that's where you want it at, right? You want to be able to do that, get yourself out of the debt. And guess what, y'all? I have somebody coming to the stage, one of my favorite YouTube carriers, Mr. Top Rope. How are you, brother?
I'm good. What's going on, man?
I'm good, brother. I had to send you some stuff. So, what's going on with you tonight, my man? How you doing? And I don't want to know how you doing in the freight market, right? That I already know how you doing. You making it do what it do, like you always do, right? We're not really talking about that because the freight market is the freight market. But if I could kindly ask you, a man of your stature, you know, what do you think we're looking at for us? all these Americans being in debt and the trucking companies, some of them that are going out of business and the brokerage, we're finding out now that they were in a lot of debt, right? The ones just immediately closed. And of course, we know that's going to be fought out in the courts. But just moving forward, what do you think would be somewhat of a decision making to get us out of this debt, the ones that are in it?
Well, individually, the small guys like ourselves or whatever, you gotta. If you haven't, you better go talk to your creditor. If it's out of control, I'll tell you what, man. I had said it before on one of my joints. I think at one point I was paying. This was before everything went crazy. I was already getting ready to get out of some of it. I
Hmm.
think I was up about like $11,000 a month
Wow.
in expenses,
Wow.
and then you know, I I got stuff down, paid stuff off. You know, even in the beginning of COVID, um, I think Stingley was saying something one time aloud. 'Cause I think he heard me say it. So y'all should have been listening to Top Rope when he said "Duh, duh, duh, duh," like, but y'all wasn't listening. Um, I had took my excuse me, my house, and it was before it's the craziest shit ever. And I don't think nobody really thought about it like this. I just heard it on the telephone when they was talking to me. I mean, I was like, yo, I don't know what's going on out here. It's COVID. They was like, you take you put your home in forbearance because you don't know what's gonna happen. So I was like,
Mm,
researched it, checked it out. So I'll get back to y'all about that, but I'll make a payment anyway.
correct.
So I went back later on. I said, I'll take you up on that because I had a plan. you know, I
Got
made a
you.
plan out of it. So
Hmm.
I went into forbearance. They kept like redoing it every 3 months. I did that for like 2 years almost.
Wow.
I
Wow.
didn't I didn't pay for shit for 2 years.
Wow. And
You know,
going into forbearance, does that hit the credit or
no,
okay. See, I wish I would have
no.
known about that um
I think in the
roughly
beginning,
18 years ago because I would have done it.
yeah, I don't even know if it was a thing, but I think in the beginning when it first came, it probably was. It probably was. It wasn't going as a late, but it would change if you owe a certain amount of money. It'll just say you ain't. It'll just stay right there. If you owe 250,000, it stayed at 250 or whatever. But other than that, it didn't really like. You didn't get no
Mhm.
things like that.
So
So
did it
what I
kind
did, I
of
was like,
push your payments to the back end?
you had the option either when it was up to
Uh-huh.
pay it up front
Hmm.
or put it on the back end, or what I end up doing, I listen to them again. You gotta say that. You gotta get on the phone. You gotta talk to people, man.
Yeah.
I mean, I wasn't like dying or nothing, but it was like, but if I could figure out a way to get rid of stuff quick,
Yes.
I'm gonna
Yes.
do it. So I
Well, you
talked to
know
them on the
me.
phone.
Go
My
ahead. Go ahead.
bad.
Go
Go
ahead.
ahead.
No, well, I was just gonna say, me, I always say is not what you know, it's who you know, right?
Right. So I sat there on the phone and I talked to them, and then it was like I was like, yeah, I want to get out. They start telling me about these other options or whatever. It's like you can pay whatever I owed them up front. I was like, well, I don't want to pay y'all this up front. I was like, I just kept it. Why would I? I was putting it to something else anyway. And then or you can refinance the home, but you gotta make your payments on time for 3 months. Oh, I can. I was like, all right, bet. I ain't gonna do it with y'all though. I'm gonna go get this like 2.5 or whatever I can get 1.9 while everything went down. I made 3 payments. I got up out of
Wow.
that deal.
Hmm.
Put it like this, because when you first get your house, it's like the first 10 years, whatever it is, it's just interest.
Correct. You're paying mostly interest. Hmm.
So in that time frame, I think I paid for like a year for my house. That was
Hmm.
it. That was a lot of interest. It was like 5 something% or whatever at that time.
Correct.
When I came out of it, I flipped the whole thing around. I went from 30 years. I said, "No, I need this done in 15 years."
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know, and I got it at I forget 2.8. I think it is 2.8. I could have got lower than that, but I guess I monkeyed around too long or whatever. So I
Correct.
ended up getting out of the forbearance, right? Made the three payments, you know, got the refi on the 15 years, kept all the money for the 2 years that I didn't pay a dollar for, I put it in
Hmm.
something else,
Yeah.
turned back around, thought about it. I said, I don't see this shit getting any better out here and whatever. Like, this is a little crazy, but I'm still gonna maintain. Could have sold all my trucks.
Hmm.
Could have sold all the trailers. I think about it this day. Like I told you, I said I could have been shooting with you and Stingley, man, messing, messing around out here.
Yeah.
Instead of playing this damn game. But I'll be all right. But
Correct.
just looking
Correct.
back at it later, like, damn, you should have just dumped everything and just went chilling in Mexico or something.
Called it a day.
But
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, I'll maintain. I've been through it. 2008 and stuff like that. You
Hmm.
just can't, like, have too much debt. You know, dude came up on me back in January. I wasn't
Hmm.
gonna do it, but there was a note there. My man wanted to buy the step deck. I was just
Mm.
like, I was like, eh. I thought about keeping one, and I just said, screw it. I let them both go. He had a partner
Wow.
that wanted to buy the other one, so we made a
Wow. So
deal on that.
that I know that money freed up some debt.
I wasn't even paying for it no more. I was done paying for it for like a year and a half or so,
Oh wow, wow. So that was cash
and
sales. So you got to live
yeah,
high off the hog for a short time.
yeah. So I was just like, I almost shed a tear when that shit step deck left me. I was like, I was about to call him back, like, come back. But I was like, nah, it is what it is. You'll get one back,
Yeah.
So, but but yeah, right then that was before it really, really, really went bad out here.
Hmm.
So you got that out the way. Then in March, I think I paid off one of them Peterbilts. That was $1,900 a month. That's the only one that never broke down. But I had it, the payment went up on it because of COVID. I had the payments
Correct.
paused or whatever. The
Hmm.
one I drive, I never did anything to it because I had the backup truck anyway if anything ever happened.
Correct.
Um, then the other one took a dump. I had a 9 month. I didn't have to pay for that truck for 9 months.
Wow.
But
Wow.
between that one and this one, because they was on the same deal, it was like 3,000 something dollars a month for those trucks. And
Hmm.
but I only owe like 12 grand for this one. So I was already done with it like a few months ago. The other
Yeah.
one ain't been too long ago get done. So I don't owe nobody nothing really for the most part except for three trailers.
Yeah. Gotcha.
Other than that,
Gotcha.
I owe nobody no money. So I was just like trying to figure out. Yeah, I figured out how to get out of it, man. That's what I was saying earlier in the
Yeah.
comments. But I mean, like, yo, you gotta think about this. Like, you see it going down, you better start thinking,
Correct.
what to do. Not when it gets real, fucked up out here. Now you
Yeah.
trying to think of how to handle $30,000 worth of debt, but you only
Hmm.
making 15.
Yeah, and that and here's the thing, that's a reality that a lot of people are dealing with. Nobody's going to admit it. Now, I don't expect them to admit it, right? I
Mhm,
don't want you to admit it, but I want anybody that's going that route that see the numbers are definitely changing and not changing to their favor to step up and do something. Now, I never even thought about the forbearance on the house, and for those that are listening, that was really a smart idea to do. And I think if anybody's listening, the one thing you better take from the night is, hey, let me look into this forbearance thing, right? Maybe I can push my mortgage back and keep playing the game with that for a couple of months to give myself free myself up some debt, right? But the debt's
mhm.
coming back,
It's gonna
you know.
no, it's gonna come back. But in the meantime, you better have a plan. Like
Yeah,
like I said in the beginning of COVID, nobody knew what was going
correct. Yeah.
on. They brought that up to me. You know,
Hmm.
um, I went back and paused the truck. Stuff like that back then. But then I got them going again. But
Facts.
yeah, I mean, I'm like, well, I can make all this money. I don't have to. You're gonna pay it in interest.
Yes.
you know.
Yeah.
In the meantime, get your credit straight while you
There,
in the
there,
forbearance.
there
You-
you go, right? And like I said, someone who's been through the good, the bad, and the ugly, dealing with credit and having more than what I need and what I can afford. I am one to say, hey, man, get on it before it gets too late. And of course, the beginning of COVID, nobody knew what was going on, and I don't care
Yeah.
what part of the country you was living at. Nobody got hit harder than this Northeast region, right?
Right.
We were just shut down really in the beginning. I remember
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
um, the
Definitely.
rates changed so quick overnight, right? I took the truck to Jersey City to have a clutch put in it. Ended up being a clutch, motor mount, new transmission shaft, all that stuff, right? Come back to pick the truck up 3 days later, 5,800, walk out the door, get back home. Hey, I'm gonna take the rest of the week off. Let's get a load, let's get going. We get going to Monday. For some reason, we just jumped off the screen. I don't know what the hell just happened. Um, get going, and then all of a sudden, man, guess what? Boom, the rates are dropped. You know what I mean?
That's
And
that. Yeah.
you know, the rates had dropped so bad. I was like, oh man, what in the world just happened? I couldn't understand it. I'm like, man, this is crazy. I
Yeah.
couldn't figure it out to save my life. And everybody's like, man, COVID, man. I'm like, well, damn it, I thought it just started. So literally, it had hit so hard up here that I stated to myself, man, you know what? I shouldn't have got the truck fixed.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I got that truck fixed. So we're talking 5,800. And at the time, the guy who was driving for me when I just brought that other Volvo, I had to let him go because it just happened too many accidents. And the truck is due for registration now. After the next year that year is up, I got to do that new IRP. Guess what? DMV is closed. So man, I'm
Mm.
sitting there 8 months. I got a truck sitting here making payments on it. Got to have bobtail on it. Truck ain't making me no money. I was pulling my hair out, man. I was livid, going crazy because I just couldn't understand it. Like, oh man, what just happened? How did it happen this quick? Just all of a sudden, boom. Now the rates are dropped down, right? And I'm trying my best, man, to figure this thing out. But knock on wood, I didn't have a lot of debt, right?
Hmm.
So I was able to run the other truck, and the other truck just sat there. Like, hey, there's nothing I can do, right? Because at that point, the freight wasn't there to put another guy in it. I didn't want to go through the same whole thing with another guy constantly tearing the truck up. I said, man, you know what? After COVID, when we get going again, I'll sell this one and jump back in the other truck, right? That was the game plan, and that's what I ended up doing. But yeah, man, we caught hell up here
Oh
during
yeah, I
COVID,
seen it on
because
I seen it on the TV and all that every day. My
we
mom still live up there, so I
yeah,
know.
it was. Here's the thing, it was bad, but after the 30 days when I got the truck back, I was like, you know what? There's money in the tragedy. Well, guess what? I started running all that food to grocery stores from Bazzuto's down into the city. Every
Hmm.
day, Brooklyn and Queens delivering at the grocery stores, coming right back to Connecticut. And it worked out, because a lot of their drivers said they didn't want to go. So they needed to bring people in to run. And they tried temp agencies. They couldn't get nobody. And then I got the word, hey, man, they're looking for small carriers or anybody can come in. And hey, stepped up to the plate, ran that for about 7 months until they started opening things up a little more. But it was still a strenuous process. You go down there and certain places ain't gonna let you in. Then they started with you had to have your shots, your card, and all this kind of stuff, right? So it
Yeah.
got to that point, but it was a battle, man, and when the other regions started catching up to what we was going through, where they was shutting things down, then other regions and carriers and owner operators and W2 guys, they start really feeling the pinch because nobody was excluded from the whole COVID thing, right? So I
Yep.
I can understand that a lot of people got in the pinch credit wise because of COVID. And then the government started giving out the money, and they was giving money left and right, throwing it out there like money ain't a thing. And I'm like everybody else, I'm trying to catch a few dollars myself. I got my hands up in the air like I'm doing a Heisman Trophy award, right? Trying to catch me some dollars. And everybody caught the dollars. And what did a lot of people do? They spent the
They
dollars,
blew
right?
it.
there you go. They spent it. They brought this. They purchased that, and they backed Jay Z and Jermaine Dupri. Money ain't a thing, and that lasted for a good year. Rates went up. Everybody got super ecstatic, and the rates went up so high to the point it was like, screw the PPP, man. I'm getting this $7 a mile. You know,
Yeah.
and people started basing their bills off of $7 a mile, $5 a mile. Well, now we're not at that point no more. But your bills are
No.
still at $5 and $7 a mile. So
Hmm.
it's like, what do we do now? That's why I say, you didn't get into this situation overnight, right? So you're not going to come out of it overnight. But
No.
2024, we got to figure something out, right? Because we just can't say the rates are going to go back up and everything's going to be fine. That's not going to happen, and for those guys that went and brought trucks that were over inflated, I would be dead honest with you. I cannot, in good faith, feel sorry for them because that was a
It was
financial
so.
yes, it was a financial decision. And I don't like to see anybody distressed financially. But when you are so eager to get into this industry as an owner operator, that you just say, you know what, I'm gonna pay 30,000 above cost, you know,
Yeah.
your 1 to 5
They're
truck
like
carrier. Yeah, and the rates
they're
are so
like
good. Go ahead, brother.
they're like $3,500 a month for one truck. I'm getting that in one load. So all right, that's not how it works, man. You, no, this is y'all gotta get used to this. This is how it's gonna be. I'm like, no, that's not how it's gonna be.
Mm,
We seen something like this before, not
yes,
exactly like this, but
yes,
this ain't going the way you think it's gonna go, man. Y'all owner operators, y'all need to pay more to the pot. Y'all taking too much or whatever. Nah, I'd rather just keep
mm,
things the same. I might tweak stuff here and there,
correct.
but I'm still gonna when the dust settles, I'm still gonna be here. You ain't either you ain't gonna have your trucks or you gonna be looking for somebody else to drive for all over the place. And that's it. I
That's right.
mean, and
That's right.
it's happening right now.
And I think that's what um people just didn't think that this thing was going to go down. Have some connectivity problems back here. People just didn't think that the rates were going to go down the way they did, right? And
Yep.
of course, I think we've talked about this when everything was at its height, that this wasn't normal, and people shouldn't bank on this being normal. And I know I said it one time on YouTube, and man, I got crucified. I thought I was Jesus, bleeding out my hands, right?
Hmm.
And but at the end of the day, I wasn't upset about it because I knew the writing was on the wall that
You
this
know
was
what you
going to be
know.
short
That's
lived.
it.
And now that it is, not that I wish anything bad on anybody, but now that it is, people got to understand, what, this could happen again. But if it does, what do I do? Right? Do I do the same thing? Do I make the
Yeah.
same decision? Or do I say, you know what? Let me hold back on buying certain things because the money is coming in, and let's start saving the money instead of spending it, right? Because that's just the way I see it at this point, man. We got to curb our spending, uh, not as business owners, just as Americans in a whole, as a whole, we got to conserve the spending. You buy what you need, not what you want. That's always been my philosophy once I was able to get myself out of debt. And as they say, I used to say it all the time, debt is not my friend. So that's kind of the way I looked at it. But
Yeah.
other than that, man, hopefully, 2024, people is going to be looking at a good strategy to get themselves out of debt, even if that means, like you said, doing a forbearance for your house. If someone has to give something up to get out of that debt, trust me, it's not as easy as I say it is, because I've been there and I've had to make those decisions. But when you realize 6 months later that you basically took that debt off of you and the stress off of you, you can deal with the years that's going to come until you get your credit back right. You'll feel so much better.
I'm
you know
telling you, because it's like,
I love a frugal lifestyle. Now that I'm older, I always say I'm broke and I'm happy.
Hmm.
and I always leave it at that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I'm telling you, 'cause it's like,
Uh-oh,
when
Mr.
I
Rope, we
did.
got you.
Yeah, you hear me?
All
Oh
right,
shit.
I think Top Rope got into a bad area there and everything.
Nah.
So,
You
but
hear me?
listen, y'all, it's been nice. Everybody that
You hear
came
me?
in, we appreciate it. Triple D always, Ghost Town Bully,
Uh,
James Wills Trucking. Truckers feel great. Never seen you, but hey, brothers, subscribe. We appreciate you coming in. Owen, you always come in all the time, brothers. Always good seeing you. Mr. T Hill came in. Of course, Top Rope came by and visited us and everything, man. And it's been a good night. Was glad I was able to get a chance to talk to everybody. And like I always say, you know, uh, everybody stay prayed up, stay strapped up. Mr. Rope, you have anything you want to say before we step out of here, my brother?
oh, man, I didn't know it had
I
cut
can't
me
get Top
off.
Rope voice in. So I will speak for him and just let everybody know, hey man, we appreciate y'all coming to the Fisher Business Podcast. It's been a while, but we will be back. Of course, OB was not able to join us tonight, but he is here with us in spirit. I can't do my OB, but I would say it all the time, even though you haven't heard him say it. We can talk shit, swallow spit. That is what we do. And you know what? Hey, guess what? I'm gonna send us out with a little musical song. We always have our little thing that we like to play periodically when we're closing down the show. So, you know what? I'm gonna go back to one of my favorite songs when I was younger. This is an '85 song, and we're gonna sign off with this song. And like always, everybody stay prayed up, strapped up. Like, follow, subscribe to Fisher Business Podcast, and we'll be back to do it again very soon.